Hey Yang Gang, my name is Hervé Casimir, and I've been deliberating for a long time on whether I should post a video on my take on Andrew Yang's run for president as a person of color. I make this video specifically for other black and brown people, and this message can go out to everyone. Now, I'm 38 years old. I work for myself. I've never been this enthusiastic about any political campaign. This is my first time. Andrew Yang is extremely special. He is extremely special. I've never heard anyone speak who doesn't speak in platitudes. He actually has a very specific, detailed policies that he wants to implement once he is president, and I do believe that he will become president. But I'm really disappointed in my black brothers and sisters. Now, mind you, I never grew up seeing race. I never grew up, like, I can remember when I was in elementary school, I never saw, oh, that was, that guy's black or that guy's white. That never really occurred to me, you know? It wasn't until later that I started, you know, experiencing true racism in this country, and it really is sad. But I'm shocked that there isn't more people of color that are supporting Andrew Yang. He is the person that will help create equality in this country, and I get it. You know, like, we've been disappointed. When I say we, I mean black people. All right, we've been let down for so long that it's, you know, like, you can't help but to think everyone's gonna let you down. I get it, you know, but you can't give up hope. The minute you give up hope, you're defeated. All right. So then you have socio-economical injustices. All right. How do we dig ourselves out of that situation? You need capital. You need money to be able to dig yourself out, and not just enough to get by, but you need enough capital to take risks in society. And when I say risk, start a business, to try that invention that you want to do. Most people don't have the means to that, or let's say you want to dive into real estate. You need capital to do all those things. All right. So in order to get that leg up, needing money is such a priority that most people don't have, and you end up with this perpetual impoverished situation for people of color. Andrew Yang is proposing a UBI. A UBI is going to allow people to rise out of this impoverished situation. And I know people have their excuses. Oh, people are going to spend it on garbage. You're going to have some of that. People are going to spend it on drugs. You're definitely going to have some of that. But you can't let the minority, and I don't mean minority as black and, you know, like brown or Hispanic or whatever. I mean, but a small population of people mess it up for the greater good. You have to always think about the greater good. Let's not be pessimistic in this situation. This is an opportunity for people of color to rise out of poverty. All right. I do pretty well for myself. But an extra $12,000 would be a game changer. I would totally, it would allow me to put away from my son. It'll allow me to put more capital into the investments that I'm trying to instill. This is a great situation. Think about how this will change. Now, mind you, let's say you're a black, brown, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, and you're okay. You don't need an extra $1,000 a month. But you know what? We all know someone who does. All right. If you don't do it for you, do it for that person that you know is struggling, who you know is working, but is only getting by because society only sees what they do as minimal gains in whatever company they're investing their time in. We have to do it for society. There's a saying I once heard, and it's kind of spine chilling. Andrew Yang said that we're going to follow capitalism or what's the word? Jeez, I can't. We're going to follow this capitalistic society off a cliff. Capitalism off a cliff. And I truly believe that. And one of the things that happens is, there's a saying that goes, anarchy is 3 missed meals. When people start really hurting, and Trump is a manifestation of that. When people really start hurting, that's when really bad things start happening. Think about that for a second. I want you to think about this, all right? You have a guy running for president. Now, let's rewind that, all right? So you have someone who, well, actually, you have most poverty lies within the minority communities. Most people are impoverished, and he has a statistic, and I'm going to try to quote it as best as I can. But the black net worth is going to drop close to 0 in the near future. I think it's like 2030 or 2050. You know, and you would probably think, oh, but you got a lot of black billionaires and millionaires and football players, but that's not accounting to how much debt they hold. You don't know how much debt they hold. And another thing, think about it. You have a lot of people going to college, right? Who are the most people taking out loans, student loans to go to school? It falls in the minority community, right? We're the ones getting screwed. Now, granted, my father worked at the university, and I was able to go tuition remission. So I'm thankful. But you know what? My wife has about $100,000 worth of student loans. So by defunct, I got $100,000 worth of student loans that we have to take care of. And that gets in the way of buying houses. It gets in the way. And that's where true wealth lies. It lies in real estate. It lies in ownership of assets. And if you don't own assets, you don't have wealth. Now let's talk about the other candidates that are running who are not progressive, all right? Now, before I even get started on this whole topic, I got to give it to Bernie Sanders. You got to give Bernie Sanders a massive amount of credit. Bernie Sanders is the man, all right? He is the man, but I have my hangups, and I'll get to that point. Bernie Sanders is the man. He's been fighting for doing a progressive style policies for the longest time, over 30 years or 30 years, whatever the case might be. He's been consistent in what he believes in, and you can't knock him for that. Like, that's what he stands for. You know, he's never faltered. He's never changed his views on something, you know, to a fault. And I'll get to that point. But he is, I believe, the godfather of modern day society progressivism. You have to give it to him. Having said all that, I do not think Bernie Sanders, with his current policies and his unwillingness to upgrade or improve upon, is good enough. There's way too many faults or loopholes in his policies that just don't add up, and I'll explain. Bernie Sanders is like, I'm not going to even insult him and say, like, he's like PlayStation 2 and we're going on PlayStation 4. I would even say PlayStation 3. Let's give Bernie Sanders, he's PlayStation 3, and Andrew Yang is PlayStation 4, and he's gonna evolve to PlayStation 5 and beyond. You know, like, he's just always gonna get better. Or you can use your iPhone as an analogy, whatever the case might be. Andrew Yang is willing. There's no ego behind him. He is willing. If he thinks of an idea and he sees a genuine problem with that idea, he will change, you know, his position. I've seen it happen, and I've never seen that happen with any kind of politician. That blew me away. Bernie Sanders' flagship policy is $15 minimum wage. Now, this is how I feel, and you have to really think. And I love Andrew Yang's saying, make America think harder. People, you gotta think harder. You gotta think harder, all right? Stop listening to platitudes. And if you don't know what a platitude is when someone says, we have to stand for education. What does that mean? What is that? What are you specifically going to do for education? All right? What is it? Like, stop with these vague sayings. I hate it. It gets under my skin. It gets people who aren't as intelligent, people taking us like, all right, we got to stand. Of course you got to stand for education, but what are you going to do about education? So stop with those vague platitudes. So back on Bernie Sanders' flagship policy, $15 minimum wage. It sounds wonderful. Absolutely, everyone deserves to get paid their fair share. Everyone, the human element is very valuable. It's extremely valuable, and we need to take care of our people. All right, this is the most This is the wealthiest country in the world. $20 trillion plus economy. Why do we still have poor people? Why do we still have poverty? Not even poor, right? So I believe that, you have an opportunity to get wealth, to get wealthy, to make something of yourself, and that comes with risk. And, but no one should ever be starving. You should not have kids that are starving. You should not have people who are working full time and do not have a means to pay their bills. That is wrong. So $15 a minimum wage, all right? Let's face it, $15 is not a livable wage. It's a start, but it's got its big problems, all right? Let's talk about that. All right, so let's say, so let's say you work at Walmart, all right? Or let's say McDonald's, right? Of course you should in theory get paid your fair share for your hard work, because when you're trading time for money, you can't get that time back. I totally get that. I totally side with you on that. But let's talk about that, and let's talk about the ramifications. Let's say you're working, a full-time schedule, 40 hours a week. That's 80 hours every 2 weeks. And let's say you're getting paid, I don't know, $11 an hour. All right, $11 an hour at 40 hours a week. That is $440. This is all before taxes. All right, and then let's say after every 2 weeks you get paid, it's $880 for 2 weeks worth of work. I don't know about you, but I cannot live off $880 every 2 weeks. I got kids, I got to feed, provide food, I got to pay rent, I got to do all these things, car payments, all that stuff. There's no room for anything extra. You're perpetually in a place of stress. You can't really take time off because you're barely making ends meet now. Every month that passes, you're probably in the negative, and God knows what you're compensating in order to pay your bills. All right, so there's that. But let's say they up it an extra $3, right? What's 3 times 40? That's $120 extra every week. 120, that's $240 every 2 weeks. That's nothing. You're still broke. You're still broke. It's not livable. I don't care where you are. You can be in Kent, Ohio, or in Miami, Florida. That's where I am. You're not going to make ends meet. Barely. There's nothing extra. $240 is marginal. So what happens when we do implement a $15 minimum wage? In a capitalistic mindset, in a capitalistic society, all these companies, the McDonald's and the Walmarts of the world or of this country, are going to be like, oh, you're going to force my hand to pay these people more. You know what? Let's just automate all these jobs away. So that $15 minimum wage job you just fought for is now gone. You see it happening right now. Jobs are disappearing right now as it stands, as minimum wage is where it is right now. And it's a shame, because I firmly believe people need to get paid. There has to be a better way. You cannot force these companies. I mean, you can, by all means, but you also have to deal with the ramifications of it. So this is the problem with Bernie Sanders' policy. It doesn't fix the problem. What it does is you create ripples and you create more problems that you're going to have to mitigate. So that's what's going to end up happening. It's happening now, and you're going to end up displacing more people out of jobs. You're going to have more people in Walmart and in McDonald's. Did you know that McDonald's just acquired their 5th tech company to automate away jobs? They're doing it anyways. This is just going to accelerate it. Look it up, people. Go research it. It's happening right now. You go to Walmart, a lot of these, the checkout line, you have the self-checkout. It's at Home Depot. It's at CVS. It's I haven't seen it at Walgreens. Maybe soon. But this is happening, people. Like, you got to really think about these things. It's scary times, but there are solutions, and you have to put the right solutions to work optimally. So there's that. There's a huge problem with that. Now, another thing that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are proposing is a wealth tax. Come on, you're trying to punish people for doing the fundamental thing that we promise here in this country, which is, you know what, make something of yourself and enjoy the fruits of your labor. All right. Now, when people become of a certain stature, and I understand it's like at the top 2%, but you shouldn't penalize people. Now, mind you, I understand the capitalistic mindset needs to change. All right. These companies, that's a completely different story. But at the personal level, there are loopholes that are going to happen. Companies and or people will just deflate their assets. People do it now. Let's face it, people do it during their taxes all the time. They inflate, deflate. Trump is guilty of it. Deflates, inflates his assets when it's convenient. It's not right, but our current tax system allows for that. And it's a huge problem. All this is going to do is accelerate the deflation and the escaping of wealth in this country. You can't just implement a tax. How are you going to keep people from keeping their money in certain places? People have the right to move their assets wherever they want, within means of whatever rules of whatever institution that they're doing it with. But that's what's going to happen. Their projections of acquiring a certain amount for these programs that they're trying to do, it's not going to add up. It just does not add up. These are problems that just simply will not add up. So if you are a person of color and you're watching the MSNBCs and the CNNs and they're just pushing all this framed narrative garbage on you, well, that's the reason why you believe what you believe. I need you to think harder. Think deeper, look into the situation, and start thinking for yourself. There aren't very many candidates. If anything, I'm just going to say Andrew Yang's the only candidate that is running for president that truly has people's best interest in mind. The other stuff, the other people, they sound nice, but when you really start tearing their stuff apart, it really doesn't add up. You know, that's just a thought. Once again, my name is Hervé Casimir. Let's go Yang Gang. I need my black brothers and sisters, my Hispanic brothers and sisters. I need everyone to really take a good look at Andrew Yang. He really is what we need in this country. And for the most part, he's the only person that is going to heal this country. He's not vindictive. Like, there's no vendetta, there's no rebuttal or retaliation. You know, his campaign or his followers consist of everyone. There's Trump supporters. Never have I understood Trump supporters until I started following Andrew Yang and listening to him speak. You know, I sympathize with Trump supporters. Not from the there's a lot of racist undertones with some Trump supporters, and there's zero tolerance with me with that. But with the broken government that we have, our democracy is no longer representing our people. It's whoever has the most amount of money that they can buy politicians. That's what it comes down to. That's horrible. When did we get to this point? It's terrible. It's embarrassing. And we're perpetually in a broken system that needs fixing. And this is the person that is going to do it. And he's going to do it with the common man and woman and child in mind. He's got everything you want and better, because he's going to constantly come up with great policies that haven't already been thought of. He's a very serious candidate. You really need to look into it. Please check out Andrew Yang, Yang 2020. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. Once again, my name is Hervé Casimir. This is my first video. Sorry if I sound like I'm rambling. I'm driving. I'm maneuvering traffic, which is terrible. But that's what it is. And please let me know what you think in the comment section. And I would love to hear from you.